everyone. Welcome back to the Checkered Sky channel, where we dive into true crime stories. Today we're diving into a chilling tale from the streets of Australia. A story of two young women, two separate tragedies, and a haunting thread that ties them together. In the bustling heart of Sydney, where skyscrapers gleam and nightlife hums, two lives were cut short in ways that shocked the nation. Michaela Dunn was just 24 years old when her life ended in a brutal incident in August 2019. Across town, a few years earlier in 2016, Dasha Volnukin, only 22, faced a harrowing ordeal that left scars, both seen and unseen. These weren't just isolated events. They carried eerie similarities that made investigators pause. Both occurred in the inner city, in places where people felt safe, where the pulse of urban life seemed to promise security. Yet, something sinister lurked beneath the surface. Let's set the stage. On August 13, 2019, in a high-rise apartment in Sydney's Clarence Street, police received a call that would unravel a tragedy. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, finding a chaotic aftermath in a modern building that housed professionals and students. Neighbors reported hearing raised voices, maybe a struggle, but no one could pinpoint exactly what had happened. Rewind to May 27, 2016, in Parramatta, a vibrant suburb west of Sydney's central business district. Dasha Volnukin, a young woman with dreams and ambition, found herself in a nightmare. In the Fiore Apartments, a modern complex much like the one in Michaela's story, an encounter turned terrifying. CCTV footage captured fleeting moments before the incident. Two figures in a lobby, an elevator ride, then silence. The question lingered: what connected these two cases across time? Both women were young, in their early 20s, living in Sydney's urban sprawl. Both incidents unfolded in apartments, places meant to be safe havens, and both left communities reeling, searching for answers. Were these random acts, or was there a pattern? The police began digging, piecing together timelines, interviewing friends, family, anyone who might know something. To understand the weight of these events, we need to know who they were, not just as names in headlines, but as daughters, friends, and dreamers with lives full of promise. Let's start with Michaela, then Dasha, and uncover the paths that brought them to that fateful crossroads. Michaela Dunn was born and raised in Sydney's inner west. She grew up in a close-knit community, attending Rosebank College in Five Dock. Her principal, Tom Galea, remembered her as a well-respected, conscientious, and highly motivated student, one of 4 social justice captains in her graduating year. Michaela wasn't just a leader, she was a role model, earning academic merit awards and leaving a lasting impression on her teachers and peers. Michaela had a sister, Emily, and a mother, Joanne, who called her a beautiful, loving woman who had studied at university and traveled widely. After high school, Michaela enrolled at the University of Notre Dame's Broadway campus in Sydney, earning a business qualification by 2016. Her social media painted a picture of a young woman embracing life. Trips to the USA, Europe, Fiji, and Sri Lanka, including a star-studded visit to Coachella in California just months before her life ended in 2019. She posed at Park Güell in Barcelona, laughed with friends on nights out, and shared moments with her beloved cat. But there was another side to Michaela's life, one she kept private. By July 2016, she had registered as a sole trader and was working as an elite escort. This work funded her adventurous lifestyle, with rates for high-end escorts ranging from $500 an hour to over $5,000 for an overnight stay. It's unclear if her family knew about this part of her life. Friends like Joan, who mourned her loss, focused on her warmth and spirit, suggesting Michaela kept her professional choices discreet, perhaps to shield her loved ones or maintain her privacy in a world quick to judge. Now, let's turn to Dasha Volnukin, a 22-year-old whose journey to Australia began far from Sydney's shores. Born in 1997, Dasha hailed from Canada, where she studied business and corporate communications at the University of Calgary. Her LinkedIn profile revealed a young woman with ambition, having worked as a hostess and server in hospitality before chasing adventure abroad. In September 2015, Dasha arrived in Australia, drawn to its vibrant culture and opportunities. She settled on the Gold Coast initially, later moving to Sydney, where she took on various roles: topless waitress for pin-up promotions, occasional lingerie model, and MC for Wicked Club Crawl. Dasha's modeling agency described her as a special girl who had the world ahead of her, a sentiment echoed by friends who admired her drive and warmth. She loved animals, once saying she'd distribute all the stray and shelter puppies to living homes if she could. Like Michaela, Dasha entered the escort industry, signing a 1-month contract with Platinum Escorts, also known as Elite Escorts, in Sydney. It was a decision she kept hidden, even from close friends. Catherine Dudley, a former housemate, was stunned to learn of Dasha's work after her death, saying, "I don't think you can ever really know what else people have going on when they haven't told you everything." Dasha's move into escorting was recent. Her tragic encounter occurred on just her second night with the agency in May 2016. There's no evidence her family in Canada was aware of this work. Both Michaela and Dasha were young women carving their own paths. Michaela, the Sydney local with a knack for academics and a love for travel, and Dasha, the Canadian adventurer chasing dreams in a new country. Their choices to work as escorts weren't the sum of who they were, but they were part of their stories, choices that came with risks they couldn't have fully anticipated. Why did they choose this path? Maybe it was the financial freedom, the flexibility, or the chance to live life on their terms. But those choices led them to moments that would change everything. Next, we'll explore the days leading up to these incidents, searching for clues to what went wrong. Let's start with Michaela's story, then move to Dasha's, and uncover the chilling events that unfolded. It was a warm Tuesday afternoon, August 13th, 2019, in Sydney's Central Business District, a place where office workers hustled through lunch breaks and tourists snapped photos of the city's iconic skyline. At 33 Clarence Street, a sleek high-rise apartment building stood as a hub for young professionals and students. Michaela Dunn, 24, was in her apartment, a space she used for her work as an escort. She had arranged a meeting with a client who had agreed to pay $250 for what was advertised as a girlfriend experience, a service that promised companionship and intimacy. The client arrived around mid-afternoon, entering the building through its secure lobby. Inside the apartment, the encounter began like any other booking. But within minutes, the situation turned catastrophic. The client, a young man, became aggressive. In the front room of Michaela's apartment, a struggle ensued. Michaela fought back, her forearms and hands later showing defensive wounds, a testament to her desperate attempt to protect herself. The attack was swift and brutal, centered around a deep wound to her neck that ended her life. The assailant, bloodied and chaotic, didn't linger long. He placed one of the weapons, a knife, on the kitchen bench, a chilling detail that spoke to his detachment. He then fled, descending the building's fire stairs, dropping another bloodied knife as he went. The scene he left behind was one of tragedy. Michaela, lifeless in her own home, a place meant to be her sanctuary. Neighbors in the building later spoke of hearing raised voices or a commotion, but none had a clear picture of what had transpired. Now, let's travel back to May 27, 2016, to the Fiore Apartments in Parramatta, a lively suburb west of Sydney's CBD. The complex, with its modern facade and secure entry, was home to young professionals and newcomers like Dasha Volnukin, the 22-year-old Canadian who had arrived in Australia less than a year earlier. It was Dasha's second night working as an escort for Platinum Escorts, also known as Elite Escorts. Under a 1-month contract she had signed to earn extra income. That evening, she had arranged to meet a client at her apartment in the Fiore complex. CCTV footage captured the client entering the building with Dasha, the two walking through the lobby and stepping into an elevator. To anyone watching, it looked like a routine interaction, nothing out of the ordinary for a Friday night in a busy urban hub. But once inside the apartment, the encounter took a terrifying turn. Moments after Dasha let the client in, he moved to the kitchen, pulling a large butcher-style knife from a drawer. Dasha, wearing shorts and a tank top, froze as he brandished the weapon. "Don't f***ing scream!" he shouted, his voice sharp with menace, before ordering her to take off her clothes. Dasha later told police she complied out of fear, believing that resistance could cost her life. "I was thinking that if I don't, I will probably die," she said in her statement. The client, aggressive and dominant, subjected her to a brief but harrowing assault lasting 3 to 4 minutes. During the ordeal, he held a mobile phone, recording the attack and demanding Dasha say degrading things, taunting her with phrases like, "Do you like this?" and "Say you're a s***." When it was over, he stole her day's earnings and fled, leaving Dasha shaken but alive. Unlike Michaela's story, Dasha's encounter didn't end in immediate tragedy, but the scars it left were deep. She reported the incident to the police, providing a detailed statement that described the client's actions, his large neck tattoo, and the chilling way he seemed to revel in her fear. The Fiore apartments, like Michaela's building, became a focal point for investigators, its modern exterior hiding the terror that had unfolded within. Dasha's life continued, but the weight of that night followed her, a shadow that would resurface in the months and years that followed. These two moments, August 13th, 2019, for Michaela, and May 27th, 2016, for Dasha, were separated by years but bound by a haunting similarity. Both took place in apartments, spaces meant to be safe, in the heart of Sydney's urban landscape. Both involved young women working as escorts, meeting clients who turned those private encounters into nightmares. The details paint a picture of vulnerability, not because of who Michaela and Dasha were, but because of the risks inherent in their work, risks that no one should have to face. Now, the police were racing against time to find the culprits. Who were these men, and what drove them to commit such acts? Let's dive into the hunt for answers, starting with Michaela's case, then Dasha's, as the net tightened around those responsible. The investigation into Michaela Dunn's death on August 13, 2019, began the moment police arrived at her Clarence Street apartment. The scene was chaotic. Her body discovered with a fatal neck wound, the apartment sealed off as forensic teams scoured for evidence. CCTV footage was their first lead, showing a young man entering the building around 1:30 p.m. and leaving just 20 minutes later at 1:50 p.m., his clothes stained with blood. This man, later identified as Mert Nay, 20, from Marayong in Sydney's west, didn't stay hidden for long. After fleeing down the fire stairs, he burst onto Clarence Street, brandishing a 20-centimeter kitchen knife and shouting phrases that sent pedestrians scattering in fear. Witnesses were crucial. Hundreds saw the chaos unfold between Clarence and Wynyard Streets. Office workers, shoppers, and passers-by described a bloodied man running wildly, waving a knife. One bystander, lawyer John Bamford, had been heading to lunch when he spotted Nay in blood-soaked clothes. "I set off after him with the chair because it was the only available thing I could get hold of to sort him out with," Bamford told 7 News, recounting how he grabbed a cafe chair to confront Nay. Others joined in, businessmen with milk crates, firefighters wielding axes from their truck. These highest order of heroes, as Police Commissioner Mick Fuller called them, pinned Nay to the ground near Wynyard Lane, detaining him until police arrived around 2 p.m. Police found a USB on Ney with footage of violent attacks from New Zealand and the US, raising questions about his mindset, though no terrorist links were confirmed. Ney's family provided critical context. His sister, speaking near their Mariong home, expressed horror and shame. "Mostly I just want to say sorry to the victims," she told the Daily Mail. She described Ney as troubled, with a history of mental health issues, noting he had absconded from an ambulance after a drug overdose days earlier. Police searched a Blacktown property where Ney had been staying, uncovering no clear motive but confirming he lacked the funds for Michaela's services, suggesting he may have brought the knife with intent. His arrest was swift, but the investigation continued, with detectives probing his mental state and possible premeditation. The investigation into Dasha Volnukin's assault on May 27, 2016, took a different path, but was no less urgent. Dasha's courage in reporting the incident immediately gave police a head start. She provided a detailed statement, describing a man with a large neck tattoo who had pulled a butcher knife from her kitchen drawer, threatened her, and recorded the assault. Her description of the attacker's appearance and behavior, aggressive, dominant, and chillingly deliberate, was a vital lead. CCTV from the Fiore apartments showed the man entering with Dasha and leaving shortly after, his demeanor calm but purposeful. Police canvassed the Parramatta neighborhood, but few neighbors reported anything suspicious. The Fiore apartments, like Michaela's building, were secure, with residents often unaware of others' activities. No one reported seeing the suspect loitering beforehand, but police cross-referenced Dasha's description with other recent crimes. The breakthrough came the next day, May 28, 2016, when a car chase in Bondi led to the arrest of Mustafa Kayarici, 28, after a struggle with armed officers. His distinctive neck tattoo matched Dasha's account, and police linked him to a string of similar assaults across Sydney. Investigators learned Kayarici had been on a 6-week rampage, targeting escorts and others. On May 7, 2016, he had attacked another woman in Sydney's CBD, and later that day, another in Parramatta, both with a knife. Witnesses from those incidents described a similar pattern: a man posing as a client, turning violent once inside. Police interviewed victims and colleagues from Platinum Escorts, where Dasha had worked her second night. The agency confirmed her brief tenure, but had no prior complaints about Kayarici. His arrest in Bondi, after attempting to evade police, closed the net on a predator who had terrorized multiple women. The investigations into Michaela and Dasha's cases revealed stark realities. For Michaela, a spontaneous act of public bravery led to Ney's arrest, but left lingering questions about his motives. For Dasha, her own detailed account pointed police to Kayarici, a serial offender whose pattern emerged only after her courage. Yet,